Hello all! Today we are going to make a hamburger with HTML and CSS. So let's start! Hope you all can see the code well. We can slide down the JS tab since we need only HTML and CSS for this example. First we will add a wrapper class to our hamburger. Then we can start adding the contents inside one by one, starting with the bread. We have bread, tomato, meat, lettuce, cheese and a final layer of meatloaf begin to finish. I hate onions! We have added only one element for the top and bottom layer of bread. But I am adding 2 divs for meat to make it easy to animate. We need to give an additional class to the last layer of meatloaf. I will call it bottom layer. The HTML part is done for the time being. We need to add checkbox here, which we will add once we style the hamburger. Let's start by adding styles to the body tag. We will use flexbox to position the burger vertically and horizontally center to the screen, with the help of align items center and justify content center properties. We need to give a 100 VH height, and will remove any unwanted margin to the body. Let us add a global style to make the box sizing property to border box, so that the padding and borders one add up to the element's width. I will add a default transition, of half a second's ease in out. Let us start styling the burger wrap class. The burger wrap class should have a relative position, so that its child elements can be positioned relative to its parent. Like the body tag, I will add display flex to center contents with the help of align items center and justify content center properties. Here, I am adding flex direction to column, so that the content stacks one below the other. I am not using any browser prefixes in this examples. Please make sure, proper prefixes are added to browser support. Let's start styling the burger ingredients, starting with bread. I will give a width of 100 px to the bread. Well, let's make it 110 px instead. Height of 50 pixels will be enough for the top portion of bread. We will use pseudo elements to create the sesame in the bottom portion of the bread. I am using a color similar to orange for the bread color. You are free to use any color, but make sure your bread doesn't look like a potato. Add border radius of 100 px for top left and right, 20 px for bottom left and right. Need to add position relative, since we need to position the sesame in the bottom portion of the bread relative to the top bread. Set the top value to 0. Like I said before, we will use before pseudo element to add the sesame. Set the content to none as we don't have any text content to display here. Add width and height as 100% of its parent, position absolute and top 0 to position the sesames on top of the bread. We will use radial gradient on the background image property to create the sesames. To save time, I have already created the gradient code, which I will copy and paste, so save time. I will give a common background size of 38 px and 29 px to all the sesames. We have 10 sesames in total, so I will give background position value in such a way that we will get a pattern of sesames on the bread. You are free to position them your way though. We don't want the sesames to repeat, hence adding no repeat property. Now let us add the bottom portion of the bread using the after pseudo element. Here also, we don't have any text content to show, so we'll add an empty content to it. Set the width as 100% and height 22 pixels. Since we are positioning it to the bottom, let's add an absolute position with left position as 0 and top at 91 px. I am giving the background color same that of the top portion to make it look uniform. We'll give the border radius as 10 px for top left and right and 30 pixels for bottom left and right. but we have added transition property globally using star, that won't get affected on pseudo elements. So we have to give the same transition here too. Now let's add the style to the tomato, which is pretty straightforward. Nothing fancy here. I am giving a reddish color as the background, with 100 pixels and height of 7 pixels. Set the border radius as 2px. Since we need to animate the tomato up and down, we'll give a position relative property and set the initial top position as 0. Next we will add the style to the first meatloaf. I am adding a darker color to the meat. Set a width of 120px and height of 12px. Let's add a border radius of 10px. Add position relative and top 0 like we did to the tomato. For lettuce, I am using a greener color. I am using 125px width and 4px of height. For border radius, we just need to add a very minimum value. I am using 2px, like before, I am adding position relative and 0px as top. For the cheese, I will give 3px height. Same old relative position and top 0. We'll set a slightly yellow color as background. 120px width will be enough and 1 pixel border radius. I will create a CSS triangle, to give an impression of overflowing cheese on the after pseudo element. CSS triangles are created using border properties. Triangle width and height are given using the border width. Because of this we need to give 0px for the width and height. Border style will be set to solid obviously. Border width will be 18px, 43px, 0px and 33px. Border color will be the same as that of the cheese and will only be added to one side. Rest will set as transparent. I am giving a position relative property so that we can adjust the horizontal and vertical values and z-index of 1 to bring it to the front. I will also give the left property a value of 20px. Display block will properly position the element on top of the cheese slice. I will add a bit more detail to the cheese since it's looking very flat. For this I will use the before pseudo element and radial gradient property to create two oval shapes. Then I will position them on top of the triangle we just created. Both of them are in different sizes, so I will make one slightly bigger than the other by giving a background size of 98px, 71px and 46px and 35px. I will position the ovals using the background position property in such a way that it will on top of the triangle. We don't need any background repeat here. I chose a lighter shade as the oval color. Position absolute will help us position the ovals. I will give it a width of 100 pixels and height of 40px. Z-index should be 2 or else it will be placed behind the triangle. Our hamburger is almost done. We need to add a specific style to the bottom meatloaf, which we will do now. Only one thing to do here, and that is to increase the height of the bottom meatloaf to 15px. Our hamburger is looking nice, but to make it even better, we need to add the open animation on click. We will need to add a checkbox and will toggle open and close using this. I will add a class name of toggle burger to the checkbox. Now that the checkbox is added, we need to position it on top of the burger and hide its visibility using opacity 0. It gives us the impression of opening the burger on clicking on the burger itself. I will add a position absolute and set the checkbox width and height as 130% and 220px respectively to make sure it is covering the whole burger. we'll add a z-index of 3 to bring it to the very front. To show it is clickable, I will change cursor to pointer, and like I said, we'll hide it using opacity 0. Now we will start adding the open animations. What we are going to do is very simple and straightforward. We will adjust the top position of the elements, and check state of checkbox, using the subsequent sibling combinator selector. Let's start adding one by one. While checked, we will position the top bread by -45 pixels. Likewise the bottom bread, which is the elements after pseudo element, to 180 pixels. Let's see how it's coming. Likewise, let's add styles to rest of the ingredients as well. Okay, now let's see how the animations is coming so far. Looks okay, but we can make it even better by adding a staggering effect to the elements using transition delay property. I will start by giving a delay of 0 to the top and bottom bread on the open state, but we need to change the delay on close because we want the bread to wait for the other elements to close before closing itself. I will give variable delays to other elements one by one. You are free to add your own values, whichever suits your taste. Let's check how the results are coming now. Okay. But not okay. The animation returning state is not the good. To fix that we need to add delay to the element's default state style too. I will start off with the top and bottom bread, which will have same delay. Then we'll continue adding delay to other elements as well. Let us see the result now. Still not good. I think I know what the actual issue is. We need to specifically give the value with s while using delay. Now the animation is looking better. Hope you liked this video. I know the hamburger can be made better, if we are using SVGs. But I wanted to show that it is possible, even with HTML and CSS alone. If you want tutorials like this, let me know in the comments. Until we meet, bye bye and take care!